Small World Vacations is proud to sponsor today's podcast. Their team of 40 agents are authorized Disney vacation planners and are recommended by MouseSavers.com. They're dedicated to your dreams and your dollars. Get your free price quote at WDWVacations.com. Small World Vacations, where the magic begins. This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, July 30th, 2007, and this is episode 289 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hotchberg with MGMstudios.org. On the show today is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio and Studio Central. Welcome, Mike.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for having me.
Anytime. Any fan of Studio Central Radio is welcome.
I love Studio Central Radio.
That's right. And also on the show today is Mike Scopa of AllEarsNet and MousePlanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
From the rooftops of London, we now move toward the unknown dangers that lurk in the shadows of the big city.
The great movie Ride of Death.
It's true.
And on today's show, we're taking a retrospective. We're going to travel back in time. Newell has purchased one off of eBay, and he's trying to find a mix for Dole Whip, but instead he found a time machine. And he said, why not?
Why not?
So with the millions of dollars we make off this podcast, we decided to purchase one. And we're going back to Epcot in 1994, and we're going to go through some of what it was like in Epcot in 1994. Now, for Newell, I guess we should start. Mike, I'm sure you remember what type of cameras they were selling in 1994 in the camera shop, since it's always your first stop.
I had a Vivitar 286. Now that's when the camera shop was a real camera shop back in 1994.
The good old days.
The good old days.
So 94, something that was, first of all, Communicore was still open in 94.
Yes, it was.
It predated Illuminations, and Innoventions. I always do that. Anything in Communicore that really stood out to you guys?
Didn't they have an area where you could play tic-tac-toe with a robot or a computer or something like that?
Didn't they have the... No, they had the, what is it? I know when it first opened up, they had the Astuder computer, but that was back in the early 80s. That wasn't open in 94. Because they had, back then, I think they had Backstage Magic. Remember that?
Oh, I watched that. Yeah, that was boring.
God.
Yeah, much. Anything, Newell, was Communicore big for you, or were you just busy hovering between the camera shop and Horizons?
No, Communicore was actually interesting for me because it was that whole Spaceship Earth and parts of Communicore were still being sponsored by AT&T, who I happened to work for at the time. So it was kind of interesting for me to go check out all the futuristic stuff that never became.
I gotcha. And, of course, your favorite attraction opened in 1994, Newell. And if you really did have the time machine, you would probably spend your entire time over here would be Horizons, right?
It didn't open in 94.
Oh, so it was 83. Yeah, no, I mean, it was still running in 94.
It was running in 94, absolutely. I would get off that ride and go right back on. I love that ride.
I remember going on that. I remember the queue. That's what I vividly remember going. Because the queue, correct me if I'm wrong, when you got on the beginning of the ride went over the queue, right? Or was that World of Motion?
That was World of Motion.
World of Motion.
Yeah, never mind. Then I don't vividly remember anything about Horizons. Oh, no, I do remember. I remember in Horizons.
He talks about me.
Yeah.
I know, right? No, I was going to say in Horizons. I always remember at the end, when you choose your
ending.
Mm-hmm. My sister would never want to do the space one. I always wanted to do the space one.
Space was cool.
Yeah.
Smack her.
Space was cool. Oh, Jesus.
That's right. What was it about? Since we're going back in time, Newell, what always stood out in your mind for Horizons?
I know you're going to laugh, but the music blew me away in Horizons.
It is really good music. It's one thing I always make fun of you for having old music on Mouse World Radio, but I never complain about Horizons music.
Well, thank you, because you do a lot of complaining.
That's right. Scuffle, what about Horizons do you remember?
The scene that I always remember is there's a scene involving agriculture in which there's all kinds of advances made in farming. I always remember that scene above everything else, and I always have been told that Horizons was supposed to be the sequel to the Carousel of Progress, and I've never really made that connection, but I guess you could.
I could see it, but I never made that connection until you just mentioned it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I heard that too. It was they both were sponsored by GE at one time.
Yep.
But Matt, you're missing one important part of Epcot in 1994. That was the year that they dropped the Epcot Center, and they called it. Yeah, they called it Epcot 94. That was the first time that was used. It was Epcot 90. It was Epcot 94, and then Epcot 95, and then they dropped the year. But 94 was the year they dropped the Epcot Center.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was no more called Epcot. I mean, they've been changing the name actually as of late, they've actually been holding it steady just at Epcot.
Yeah.
But I remember that it was Epcot all capital letters, and then now it's just Epcot with capital E.
And we all call it Epcot Center, even to this day. We're going to Epcot Center today. Okay, that's
right. Another attraction was the original Figment ride, Journey into Imagination, and that one was still running. That was the original one was still running in '94, and this was as a kid, I loved this attraction. It was a lot of fun to be able to go on this one. It was, I remember the Dream Finder and that, going along. It was a lot of fun, and I always remember that after Figment we'd go, the post show area, and my parents would never let us stay over there. Oh, we gotta go. We don't have time for this stuff, and I never got to play on all the cool toys over there.
That was the best part of that pavilion. Was the Image Works.
Yeah.
The thing that I loved was the orchestra thing with the. Was great. Then they did something with that, and now it's not as good as it used to be.
Noel, what do you remember from Figment?
My favorite scene in that whole attraction is when you turned into one of the rooms and it was all the paper cutouts. Do you remember that?
That's right.
Everything was paper cut. Everything was white with paper cutouts, and it had like purple lighting, and the music again. It was real. It was like the perfect room. You went into that room. You turned the car, went into that room. And you're like, wow, this is really neat.
Yeah. Right next to it, you had Captain EO. This was still open in '94, and I remember seeing this. I went to go see it, and I remember seeing the whole movie and being like, I have no idea what just happened. It was so weird. It seems like it's one of those things I think you need to be on some sort of a drug to really appreciate. I don't know. It was totally over my head. What did you guys think of it?
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I think I saw it once, and that was enough for me.
Yeah, 94, Michael Jackson was still okay at that point. He started to turn a little freaky.
Still had a nose back then. Yeah, I think.
Did you guys, both of you, this was before my time, but did both of you prefer Magic Journeys over Captain EO? Or you really didn't care for it one way or the other?
See, back then, correct me if I'm wrong, like was Magic Journey still playing over at the Magic Kingdom in 1994?
I just know that Captain EO was there in '86.
I think you're right, Mike. I think it had moved to the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, where Mickey's PhilharMagic is now, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Magic Journeys and Captain EO were playing at the same time that year. I could be wrong, but I remember.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Because that was Mickey Mouse Revue, and then Mickey Mouse Revue went to Tokyo, and then they moved Magic Journeys to that building. I remember.
So that year you had the two films going at the same time, which was really neat.
Yeah.
They move on to the Living Seas. Was opened in '94. The original one in the greatest modern marvel of engineering.
Hydrolators.
And when they ripped it out, man, I mean, it was like that scene from Planet of the Apes. You blew it up.
He's always a hydrolator sticking out of the sand.
Right.
And Matt with his fists waving in the air.
Riding his horse along.
Dirty apes.
Oh, it's classic.
Oh, but I think if Len was here, as a guest on our show, because he doesn't ever show up at these shows, he would say that he would the deluge.
Oh, the film was great.
And it rained. Yeah, I remember seeing it just before. I knew that they were going to tear it down for the Finding Nemo overhaul, and I remember going to it one last time. And I remember I hadn't seen the video in years, and I saw that video again, and I was like, wow, that is a pretty good video.
Yeah, it's a great film, which you can hear on Mouse Radio. Thank you very much.
That's right.
Now, did anybody, after a while, like if you wanted to go back in, it was a long wait to get into the film. You had to wait. You couldn't go to the hydrolators right away. You had to go through the film.
Yeah, that's right. The film took forever.
Yeah, and if you were slick, you went to the exit where the so-called hydrolators emptied out, and you'd walk right in there, and then the other side doors would open up, and then you'd be right in Seabase Alpha. It took you 2 minutes to get in. It was awesome. Sorry. Don't do that, kids. I'm not advocating cheating the exit system.
But it's okay.
Stay in school.
Stay in school. And don't do drugs.
World of Motion was also open. Now, this is the one I vividly remember, evidently, was the beginning of the ride going over the queue. I remember going here. My parents thought they had figured out the secret to Disney World, and that is going to the back of the park first when the park first opened, so bypassing like Spaceship Earth and going to the back. And World of Motion was one of the attractions in the quote-unquote back, and we went over there. I remember an empty queue and going over the World of Motion, and I hate that song. That is
fun to be free.
Long before the boom, 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 boom.
That ride, that attraction had the best view of Spaceship Earth as you would, ascending up to the attraction. When you made that little U, had a great view of Spaceship Earth, especially at night.
Yeah, sorry. It was. I do miss the attraction, not the song, but the attraction itself was. You started out with the Scopa scene, of course, cavemen. And he saw Scopa.
Boys.
Then but what was good about that is they took Mike's animatronic and moved him over to Spaceship Earth, to join the rest of his family over there.
Hey, I'm a keeper.
That's right. What did you enjoy besides seeing yourself in World of Motion?
It was just a nice. It was one of those attractions that was a leisurely attraction. It was, when you're in the parks for a couple of days, sometimes you just want to It was sort of Epcot. To me, it was like Epcot's TTA. You get to sit and relax and go past these scenes of all these transportation achievements and things like that. And I just I enjoyed it. The song. I'm with you with the song, man. I wasn't too crazy about the song, but I also wasn't too crazy about the exhibits that were on the bottom floor of that pavilion. I just liked the ride. So I really wasn't too sad when it went, because I'm sure Test Track is much more enjoyable than that.
Yeah. Did you like World of Motion, Newell? Is like, I know how much you like Horizons, but did World of Motion also conjure up those kinds of memories for you? Or
yeah,
not so
absolutely.
Much?
It was the same type of Omni ride where you went from scene to scene to scene, and to me I had never seen anything like that at the time. So it was fascinating to see those those animatronics and sitting in cars and driving around. It was really, really cool to see.
We also had Kitchen Cabaret was still open. It was still open in '94.
Sorry.
And '94 was actually interesting because '94 Kitchen Cabaret closed and Food Rocks opened in '94 also. And I only remember Food Rocks mostly because it's on Mousehold Radio still. I don't. Kitchen Cabaret. Newell, why don't you explain the difference? Do you remember what the synopsis of Kitchen Cabaret was?
I've never seen Kitchen Cabaret.
Scopa, did you see it?
Oh yeah, Kitchen Cabaret was the predecessor for Food Rocks. It had it was very much into nutrition and eating healthy, and I don't remember the name of the host, but there were all kinds of these cutesy little names and stuff, and it was a little bit like Food Rocks, except that what Food Rocks did is just jump into the to a higher rock standard, if you will, and it was they had much more catchy tunes, and what they did is they took songs from famous pop songs, and they just added different lyrics to it. But Kitchen Cabaret was the boring part of Food Rocks, you might say, the Jekyll to its Hyde, I guess.
And we also had the original version of Universal Energy. It wasn't Ellen yet, right?
No.
94?
No, I think Ellen came around 96.
Yeah. This was the I'm trying to remember right now the original. The original version is when you go right into the dinosaur scene, right?
Wow.
Don't remember. I know that it was a snoozer at some parts, though.
Oh yeah. The only highlight for me was the dinosaur scene because as a kid I just loved seeing the dinosaurs and seeing and going over there. But really, the rest of it was just god awful boring.
Hey man, Matt, you really liked dinosaurs?
I'm not afraid of dinosaurs. I don't know. certain height challenged individuals are assuming that I'm afraid of all dinosaurs. Hardly. I just don't like that particular attraction.
Well, we'll have to wait and see at the Matt and Deanna dinosaur meet in the Mouse Fest.
Well, it's going to be a very private meet, a very private meat.
Mangello.
And we also had in '94. Who was the narrator for Spaceship Earth, Newell?
Walter Cronkite.
The good old one. Although I will say the Jeremy Irons version has really grown on me over the past.
Oh
years.
yeah, because right around that time is what I'm trying to think. That was maybe a year or two after Lion King came out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, his voice was just something else. It really was. It made that ride, I thought.
But Walter Cronkite was really good.
Walter
Speaking
Cronkite
of
was
Spaceship Earth. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm done.
You don't get to hear you talk that much, so this has really been a treat for me. The other voice, the other narrator. Does anybody want to take a shot at who the other voice was?
It was. Give me one hint here. Was it before or after Cronkite?
I think it was
before Cronkite.
After Cronkite.
No, it was the original. The original voice was not Cronkite. The original voice was somebody else.
The guy's name was Vic Perrin.
Yes, he's right.
Never heard of it.
He's right. And I think, Mike, if I'm wrong, he was only the voice of that for 2 years, maybe.
2 years, Mike, I think, yep.
Yeah, and then they changed it to Cronkite right away, like around, 85? Yeah.
Yeah, good choice.
And if you can get a bootleg copy of it, it's great. It's a great listen. There's not really that many good source qualities of that, but if you can hear it, it's a great listen.
Quickly moving on to World Showcase, you still had El Rio del Tiempo. Of course, that one's not so. You can't really reminisce about that. It's just closed.
It just left.
So, yeah, it's hard to really reminisce about it. Although it was, in World Showcase, it was just nice to be able to sit down somewhere and go.
Absolutely.
Relax. Wonders of China, the original version that was before the one that was updated in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys like this one? I remember this one being good, but by 2003 it looked really dated. Much like videos. Just the hairstyles and the clothing. And
well, you figure that was filmed before the opening. That had to been filmed in the late 70s.
Yeah, right.
Right, maybe early 80s.
Maybe 81.
Yeah.
No?
So that was a big deal because there wasn't much filming going on in Red China at the time.
Red China. Nice.
Well, no.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be funny. I think that wasn't a joke. I'm not Len.
Anything else that we left out? Wasn't there something else you mentioned, Scobie, before we started? Some show that.
Oh, was it? But I'm not sure. Are we talking about Surprise in the Skies, Matt?
Yeah, was that it?
I'm not sure if it was 1994. I don't remember exactly when. Basically, what it was a daytime fireworks show that took place at World Showcase Lagoon. But the real interesting part of the program was that the Fab Five would fly in on these little. It looked like they were flying in on go-karts or whatever, and they were high above, World Showcase Lagoon. Like you'd see Mickey and you'd see Goofy and everything, and they were basically in some kind of a flying device. It was pretty cool.
Great. Well, that's it for us today. Newell's got to go return the time machine.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to keep it. The flux capacitor is not holding up as well as I thought it would.
Your Nine Eyes?
Dr. Brown, wait up. I'll be right with you. Okay.
Nine Eyes.
If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walters World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. For Lentessa, Mike Scopa, and Mike, whoa, that's heavy, Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Small World Vacations is proud to sponsor today's podcast. Their team of 40 agents are authorized Disney vacation planners and are recommended by MouseSavers.com. They're dedicated to your dreams and your dollars. Get your free price quote at wdwvacations.com. Small World Vacations, where the magic begins.
Here's the latest in the dispute between Internet radio and the music industry over new royalty rates. The crippling new rates were due to go into effect July 15th. SoundExchange, the royalty collection agency, is encouraging small webcasters to keep operating while deliberations continue. Basically, we're on hold. The final outcome is yet to be decided. Have a say in the matter. Contact your congresspeople through SaveNetRadio.org. Urge them to support the Internet Radio Equality Act.